Hello, Holy Trinity family. It's May 30th, and it's my 39th wedding anniversary. When Peter and I were married at Holy Trinity, I was a 22-year-old divinity student, first encountering feminist theology. So in our wedding program, we concluded that familiar Irish blessing with a line that felt true and slightly daring to me at the time. May God hold you in the palm of her hand. It was, that day, about 98 degrees. It was so humid, unlike this beautiful, beautiful May weather we've been having. So in the church, you could hear a huge clap of thunder, and it reverberated through all of Holy Trinity. And my dad's best friend leaned over to another friend. He pointed to the surprising phrasing for God and whispered jokingly, "He's mad." It was 1987, and we weren't used to hearing feminine pronouns for God. Looking back now, I realized that something in me was already straining toward a larger vision of God, of the church, and who gets to speak and lead and bear the Spirit into the world. Vocation doesn't usually begin with certainty, but with a sort of holy restlessness, a flicker of recognition, or a question that keeps posing itself, something that's tugging at us, something that makes us come alive. And I think this is probably how it started with Joan of Arc, whose feast day is today. People in her time said it contradicted the will of God for a woman to lead military campaigns. And she said, famously, "I am not afraid. I was born to do this." But the real Joan was probably more complicated than that. I've read that she was often afraid of the voices that she heard in her head calling her to lead. And that fear and uncertainty persisted, but then she persisted in the calling because she knew that it made her come alive. The disciples were behind locked doors in the upper room on Pentecost for fear of the religious authorities. And when the Spirit rushed over them, much to the confusion of those who saw and heard them, and probably themselves, they came alive in the Spirit. Pentecost reminds us that the church has always had to learn, slowly and sometimes reluctantly, how to recognize the Spirit at work in unexpected people and unexpected places. Again and again in the Acts of the Apostles, the response is astonishment. How is this possible? When did God start speaking through them? And can the Spirit really be moving here? I had the privilege of attending a joyful and hopeful Pentecost at a gathering with people from all over the country and world, discerning and imagining what it could mean for the life of the Catholic Church if gender were not a barrier to ordination. Again and again, the Spirit blows where she will, through unexpected people in unexpected places, surprising us, including within each of us. We may not have been born to save France or start a new religion or to seek ordination, but each of us was born and baptized for a vocation. I used to love to share Howard Thurman's wisdom with my students at Don Bosco Cristo Rey. Don't ask what the world needs. Ask what makes you come alive and do that, because what the world needs is more people who have come alive. That's Howard Thurman. Whatever it is that makes us come alive, it's the same Spirit, the one Spirit that animates and enlivens us. She lives and moves and breathes in us. I can imagine my dad's two friends, now both gone home to God, those two that joked at Holy Trinity, "He's mad." I see them now laughing together and saying about the Holy Spirit, "She's glad." Yes, friends, she is. She's glad when we become Pentecost people, with the power and energy to come alive in community with and in service to others. She's glad when each of us responds to our baptismal call to tend to the stranger, to the hungry, to the thirsty, to the naked, to the sick, or to the imprisoned person. She's glad when my niece invites her grandma to take a walk with her and her baby. She's glad when my friend offers to let others dig up plants from her woodland garden. She's glad when my good husband sends tailored notes of gratitude on the regular. She's glad when my fellow Holy Trinity parishioners prepare and serve hundreds, thousands of weekend suppers and do backpack drives and are part of the welcoming spirit of La Familia and plan liturgies and sing in the choir and volunteer at our school. On this feast of St. Joan of Arc, the question isn't whether any of us can be just like Joan of Arc with her shield and her sword, determined to save France from English domination. A question we are invited to ask ourselves today and every day is, what is the Spirit bringing alive in me? What surprising words, what acts of love, what deep gladness keeps persistently tugging at me, even in my uncertainty? The world doesn't need more exhausted people trying to be someone else or be what someone else thinks they should or should not be. The world needs more people who have come alive in God.